Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Srimadhizvanga Sesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj srimadbhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Fourth Canto, Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 22, Prithu Maharaja's meeting with the Kumaras. We're on text 60. All right. 60. And then today we won't end, but tomorrow we'll end. End the chapter, yeah. Matarishveva sarvatma Balena mahisaujasa Avishyataya deva Bhagavan Bhutarajiva Matarshveva sarvatma Balena mahasaujasa Avishyataya devo Bhagavan Bhutarajiva. Please chant. Matarshva, the air. Eva, like. Sarva Atma, all pervading. Balena, by bodily strength. Mahasa Ojasa, by courage and power. Avishyataya, by intolerance. Devaha, the demigod. Bhagavan, the most powerful. Buttarat Eva, like Rudra, or Sadashiva. Translation. In his bodily strength and in the strength of his senses, Maharaj Prithu was as strong as the wind, which can go anywhere and everywhere. As far as his intolerance was concerned, he was just like the all-powerful Rudra expansion of Lord Shiva, or Sadashiva. 61. Kundarpa eva sandarye manasvi mriga radeva vatsalye manuvan nirnam prabhutve bhagavanaja. In his bodily beauty he was just like Cupid, and in his thoughtfulness he was like a lion. In his affection he was just like Swayambhuva Manu, and in his ability to control he was like Lord Brahma. Vriyaspatir Brahmavade Atmavate Swayam Hari Bhaktyago Guru Vipreshu Vishvakshenanu Vartishu Shriya Prashraya Shilabhyam Atmatulya Parodyame. In his personal behavior, Prithu Maharaj exhibited all good qualities, and in spiritual knowledge he was exactly like Brihaspati. In self-control, he was like the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. As far as his devotional service was concerned, he was a great follower of devotees who were attached to cow protection and the rendering of all service to the spiritual master and the Brahmins. He was perfect in his shyness and in his gentle behavior. And when he engaged in some philanthropic activity, he worked as if he were working for his own personal self. Purport. When Lord Chaitanya talked to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the Lord honored him as the incarnation of Brihaspati. Brihaspati is the chief priest of the heavenly kingdom, and he is a follower of the philosophy known as Brahmavad or Mayavad. Brihaspati is also a great logician. It appears from this statement that Maharaj Prithu, although a great devotee, constantly engaged in the love and service of the Lord, could defeat all kinds of impersonalists and Mayavadis by his profound knowledge of Vedic scriptures. We should learn from Maharaj Prithu that a Vaishnava or a devotee must not only be fixed in the service of the Lord, but if required must be prepared to argue with impersonalist Mayavadis with all logic and philosophy and defeat their contention that the absolute truth is impersonal. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ideal self-controller or brahmachari. When Krishna was elected to be president of the Rajasuya Yagya performed by Maharaj Yudhishthir, grandfather Bhishmadev praised Lord Krishna as the greatest brahmachari. Because grandfather Bhishmadev was a brahmachari, he was quite fit to distinguish a brahmachari from a vyabhichari. So, what's this? Yeah. Oh, really? Okay. One who deviates, flickering, vyabhichari. Although Prithu Maharaj was a householder and father of 5 children, he was still considered to be most controlled. One who begets Krishna-conscious children for the benefit of humanity is actually a brahmachari. One who simply begets children like cats and dogs is Okay, so we'll read that over. Second. Okay. One who simply begets children like cats and dogs is not a proper father. The word brahmachari also refers to one who acts on the platform of Brahman, or devotional service. In the impersonal Brahman conception, there is no activity, yet when one performs activities in connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is to be known as a brahmachari. Thus, Prithu Maharaj was an ideal brahmachari and grihastha simultaneously. Vishvaksenanu Vartishu refers to those devotees who are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. Other devotees must follow in their footsteps. Srila Narottam Das Thakur said, Echaya Gosani Yanja Munitarnan Das. He is prepared to become the disciple of anyone who follows in the footsteps of the six Goswamis. Also, like all Vaishnavas, Maharaj Prithu was devoted to cow protection, spiritual masters, and qualified Brahmins. Prithu Maharaj was also very humble, meek, and gentle. And whenever he performed any philanthropic work or welfare activity for the general public, he would labor exactly as if he were tending to his own personal necessities. In other words, his philanthropic activities were not for the sake of show, but were performed out of personal feeling and commitment. All philanthropic activities should be thus performed. Om Gyanadivadandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshudan Maditam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Kam Karitivachalam Pangam Nangate Girim Yakripadamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitadanam Vancha Kalpatarubhishta Kibasindebevicha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're continuing our hearing of the wonderful wonderful qualities of Prithu Maharaj. Absolutely amazing, actually. These different characteristics he has. Therefore he's an empowered, right? Empowered incarnation. Shaktivesh avatar. And then next, so tomorrow is text 63, which is the last verse of this chapter. And oh yeah, okay. Which is glorifying him more as well, this last verse of 63. And then chapter 23 will be the beginning of, obviously, but Maharaj Prithu going back home. So that's back to Godhead, right? Is it? Back home, back to Godhead. So it says his bodily strength and the strength of his senses was as strong as the wind. So wind is very strong. I mean, if you have, there's some cases where, wind can uproot houses and cars and this and that. Wind can destroy so much, actually. That's part of the devastation, the universal devastation. There's rain, there's wind, there's fire, there's so many things happen. So wind is a very powerful force. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that it's said that sometimes to control the mind is just like controlling the wind. How can you control the wind? It's very difficult. That's making the point that the mind's very strong. So his bodily strength was just like that, very strong. You can imagine how strong he was. This was 60, not 60. 6. You could imagine how strong he was. I mean, that's like amazingly strong. I mean, all these guys that they come up with, right? Spider-Man, this man, that man, Batman, so many men, fictitious characters. They're seen to be strong, but yeah, Prithvi Maharaj was actually, quite amazing. And it says the strength of his senses were also strong. That doesn't mean that he was obviously, because he had self-control. Doesn't mean that his senses were dragging him here and there, but they were powerful. And he said that intolerance, so when he was angry with, you could say, the rascals or the people who needed to be punished, he was just like Lord Shiva. So his intolerance, he could punish people. And it said his bodily beauty was just like that of Cupid. So Cupid is, Krishna, right? Kandarpa Koti says that Krishna is charming hundreds and thousands or millions of Cupids. So, which means that Cupid is very attractive. You could say supremely attractive or almost supremely attractive. But Krishna is more attractive, and therefore, right, he's Madana, what is it? Madana Mohan, which means he's the attractor of Cupid. And then there's Madana Mohan Mohini, who is Srimati Radharani, so she's attracting Krishna. So yeah, what it's saying here is that he was very attractive, just like Cupid. So you could imagine, amazing personality in so many levels. And in his thoughtfulness, he was like a lion. Now, I don't exactly know what that's referring to. Thoughtfulness, he was like a lion. I mean, who? Maybe somebody has some ideas. In his affection, he was just like Swayambhuva Manu. In his ability to control, he was just like Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma has his four heads and, engineer of the material universe. So you could say he has a lot of control. So in this way, Prithvi Maharaj was like these different personalities. And he was also, in his spiritual knowledge, he was exactly like Brihaspati, so he was very learned. Very learned. Which Srila Prabhupada would stress quite often. He would say to his disciples, which you could say carry-ons to his grand disciples, that I wrote these books first and foremost for you. I wanted you to study them. Not that just for distribution. And he would say, kind of in a, I don't know what word you want to say, but he would say, well, when you go out on book distribution and then someone says, oh, hey, what's in the book? Can you say, this is what Prabhupada said. He said, well, I don't know. My guru just told me to pass out the books, distribute the books. I don't know what's in the books. So he wanted devotees to know what's in the books. And he would say threadbare. Threadbare means from in and out. The beginning of the book to end of the book, middle of the book, all aspects from the book. And he would say that he wanted devotees to be able to quote him like lawyers. Lawyers are able to quote from this book, that book, the law books. So he wanted that. Devotees to be very learned. In one particular case, Prabhupada was in, I think he was in, I'm forgetting, somewhere in Europe, but it was where Rohini Sutta Prabhu and Manidhar, these really two big book distributors, they were there. And he was with the German devotees who were really passing out a lot of books. And then Prabhupada had a Sankirtan meeting with them, all the devotees. And then they thought Prabhupada was going to glorify them for their book distribution and so many different things like that because they were passing out so many books. And Srila Prabhupada, what he did is he asked them, okay, so are all of you reading my books? And there was everybody was quiet. Everybody was really quiet, Like, you ask somebody, you ask the audience a question or something, and, nobody's doing it or something. Everybody's really quiet, and then Prabhupada said, okay, well, what's the use then? He said, I wrote these books for you, not just for distribution. So, okay, distribute them, fine, but you have to read them too. So he really wanted devotees to read the books. There's a very pretty intense lecture, actually, given by His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami, and he was in the Philippines. And he was asking the devotees, how many of you have read the Bhagavatam? There's a group of devotees in the Philippines. How many of you read the Bhagavatam? And then devotees, he says, okay, how many of you read the first canto? And a lot of hands come up, second canto, third canto, fourth canto, fifth canto, sixth canto, seventh canto. And as the cantos are going on, less and less hands are coming up. And then at one point, the hands, they stop going up. They stop going up. In other words, devotees, they weren't reading the Bhagavatam. They didn't finish the Bhagavatam. And then he started really getting on their case in a very intense way. And he was saying that no wonder this yatra is having so many problems. He said, no wonder all of you are having so many problems. You're not reading the books. And no wonder problems means problems in one's own spiritual life. So many problems may come up. And also problems with preaching, effectiveness in preaching. And, just problems in general. And he was saying how, you have to get serious about this. Or else he'll say he said, what do you want to do? You want to take birth in the Philippines again? Come back in the city and, polluted city of the Philippines. And really, he was chastising them. And then, very strong lecture. Then at the end he said, okay, let's see the deities. So, but the point that he was bringing up was important, that within devotees' lives, they have to hear and they have to chant and they have to read. And in fact, actually, here it's mentioned in this purport, brahmacharya life. And within Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, brahmacharya life is characterized by swadhyaya, which means to study. And if brahmacharis and devotees in general don't do that, then it's no surprise that there's going to be a lot of struggle and difficulty. Just like there was one brahmachari here some years ago in SanDiego temple, and he was a brahmachari for quite some years. And then he told me, he said there was a particular time in his devotional life in the ashram, brahmachari ashram, that he wasn't reading. Very little or none at all, I don't know exactly, but he was slacking on the reading. And he said that was one of the most difficult periods in my life. The brahmachari life was very difficult. So, of course, I'm not saying by reading and chanting all these things that necessarily everything's going to vanish and be perfect or something, in the sense of no difficulties, but it definitely helps. So it says, Prithu Maharaj, he was like the very learned from study, from hearing. And Prabhupada would say over and over time, we want to create a class of Brahmins, we want to create a class of Brahmins, we want to create a class of Brahmins. Why? To help lead society. So Brahmins means learned in the Vedic scriptures. To follow, to teach, to know. And he said, in self-control, he was like the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. So he was really self-controlled, Prithu Maharaj. And as in devotional service, he was a follower of the devotees who were attached to cow protection and rendering of all service to the spiritual master and the Brahmins. So yeah, Srila Prabhupada would stress cow protection over and over and over again. And within India, it is happening more and more, cow protection. Like in Vrindavan, we're protecting cows, in Mayapur, and so many places in India we're protecting cows, which is good. And in America, we're a little slower. And throughout the world, we're a little slower in general. India is probably the leading light in that regard. Of course, we could do better in India as well. India, of course, it's the Holy Land, right? One devotee brought up a point that within India, the greatest devotees came out of India, right? Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, so many great devotees. But he also made the point that the greatest demons came out of India. Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, different demons. So I'm not sure if I'm absolutely correct, but I thought I heard something that now India, unfortunately, is providing a lot of the cow flesh or meat to different parts of the world. Have you heard that, Javita Prabhu? Javita Prabhu? You heard that about about India exporting a lot of cow? Oh, really? I thought they were one of the leading ones who were like distributing, meat throughout the world. Oh, India. Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyways, that's what I heard. I don't know. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's... Yeah, I mean, certain areas it's been restricted, as far as I know, like completely. You can't have any like slaughterhouse or anything like that. So. Anyways, Prabhupada was into that idea, cow protection, because Krishna is into it. That's what Krishna wants. He wants us to protect the cows. He is, Namo Brahmanya Devaya, Go Brahmanataya Cha, Jagadataya Krishna, Govinda. So, Brahminical culture, cow protection, these are what Krishna stands for, right? Goloka Vrindavan, it's the, right? So many cows are there. For the benefit of the cows and the Brahmins, he's living. So, Gopala, he's the protector of the cows. So, because Krishna is into it, we're into it, and Prabhupada would say in the rendering of all service to the spiritual master and Brahmins. He was perfect in his shyness and his gentle behavior, and when he engaged in some philanthropic activity, he worked as if he were working for his own personal self. So in the purport, Prabhupada says that when Lord Chaitanya was discussing with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who is Brihaspati, apparently, in Chaitanya, Brihaspati became Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in Chaitanya Leela, of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he converted Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya from his Mayavad school to a Vaishnava. And Prabhupada makes the point that we should be able to defeat the Mayavadis if needed. So within Bhagavad Gita, there's so many arguments Srila Prabhupada gives for Mayavad, against Mayavad philosophy. And one of those particular cases or examples he gives is within the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says that all these kings in the past existed, and you and I existed, and will always exist as individuals. Because the Mayavadis, they sometimes try to quote the Bhagavad Gita to support their ideas. But it's very hard to do that, because there's so many cases where Krishna says otherwise. And this is one of the cases. And Prabhupada in the purport he explains that, Krishna is explaining we're all individuals, which is not referring to the body, means the material body, it's referring to the soul. Always be individuals. So, also, there's so many devotees, they've given seminars on Mayavad, how to refute Mayavad philosophy. Ravindra Swarup Prabhu, he gave a whole series of talks on Mayavad, you could look up. And there's a book by Srila Prabhupada's godbrother, his sannyas guru, Bhakti Pragya Keshava Maharaj. I forgot what the book's called. I think it's called something Mayavadism. Anyways. So, but that book is a book specifically targeting all the historical development of Mayavad philosophy, Shankaracharya and all the Charyas coming, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and how Buddhism and how it all works. So how to defeat it. Which nowadays, I mean, you could say, it's definitely important to know these arguments. And in general, we won't find so many big-time Mayavadis with big arguments. A lot of them are very easily defeated, right? But sometimes you may run into some real Mayavadis, like some real learned, Mayavadis. So in that way, we should be learned in it, how to defeat them. When Srila Prabhupada was in Japan, he went to a place, and there was a bunch of Indians there. The devotees arranged a program, and he was speaking, and there was him and some Mayavadi who was also supposed to speak, a Mayavadi guru. So Prabhupada spoke, and then after that, this Mayavadi guru, he began to speak. But he started to say all this real impersonal garbage. Speaking. It's, Krishna is, whatever they say, Krishna's not, Krishna really doesn't exist. It's the impersonal within Krishna that you have to surrender to, and so many things like that. We're all God, whatever we were saying. So then Srila Prabhupada was sitting there, and he was tolerating it for some time. And then Srila Prabhupada started getting disturbed. He started getting angry. So then Prabhupada told the devotees who were with him, that Prabhupada said, start the kirtan. So then devotees, they were a little shocked, but they had to follow their spiritual master. I mean, he's the general. They had to do what he said. So they stood up with the mridanga and the kartal right when he was speaking, and just Hare Krishna with the mridanga and kartals, and you could imagine. I mean, the Mayavadi guru was probably really shocked, and everybody else was shocked, because it was shocking. Because right in the middle of his talk, he just said, "Start kirtan," and they started kirtan. And then even 20, I think I said this some time ago in the class, but he said like 20, 30 years ago, Devamrita Swami was going to Japan, and he met some of these Hindu, Indian persons who witnessed Prabhupada do that. And they were still shocked about it. They said, your guru, he was here, and there was another guru, and they just said, start kirtan, and they were just shocked. I couldn't believe your Guru Maharaj did that, and because they're thinking that, it's all one, and it doesn't matter, this guru, that guru, like that. But we do say it matters, because these people, they're actually offensive towards Krishna. They say, if someone that you love is offended and criticized and offended, and you could say that they don't even exist, right? If someone says that, then we'll be upset. We would be upset. So similarly, when people talk ill of Krishna, then we become upset. So that's what Srila Prabhupada is doing. He's defending Krishna. So that's important, to do that when necessary. Not necessarily we go out and look for fights, but when necessary. So throughout the rest of the purport, Prabhupada's talking about how Prithu Maharaj although he was a householder, he was a brahmachari in the sense that he was living on the spiritual platform. He wasn't deviating like vyabhichari, deviating behavior. So Prabhupada would sometimes say grihastha brahmachari, which means you're living on the spiritual platform and you create children for the purpose of Krishna consciousness. You train them to become Krishna conscious persons who will do good for humanity, who will engage in Krishna service. So if one could do that, then fine. But if one can't do that, then they shouldn't do it. Just like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, apparently he would say that if I was able to have 100, Krishna conscious children, then I would. But for some reason he was thinking that, anyways, he did it other way. He created children, spiritual children, via disciples, creating disciples. So, but the point is to whether one's a brahmachari or a grihastha, like externally, one should not live for sense gratification, one should live for Krishna service, which means living on the spiritual platform. And how do we live on the spiritual platform? We have to engage our senses in the service of Krishna. That's how we engage. That's how we live on the spiritual platform. So Prithu Maharaj was a perfect example of that, of living on the spiritual platform by engaging his senses in the service of Krishna. While engaged in his activities for the good of humanity, he was engaging in these activities just like he would engage in activities that would benefit his own self, right? Like generally people, when it has to do with themselves, they're very serious about it, right? If there's something that has to be done for oneself, they're very serious about it, about making sure it's done properly. That's why they have a saying, right? If you want it done properly, do it yourself. Because, why? Because if you ask somebody, like for example, you ask somebody, hey, can you make sure that you pack a nice lunch for me? Because we're going to go on this road trip, so pack a nice lunch. Now, you could say a lot of people they would, especially kind-hearted people, good-hearted people, they'll make sure they pack a nice lunch, for the other individual. But sometimes, they may not do it properly. They forget the bag of peanuts, they forget to put the sauce on the sandwich, whatever it may be, because they're not doing it for themselves. So there's a tendency like that to be more serious when it comes to ourselves. But it's saying with Prithu Maharaj here, he was so seriously engaged in helping in certain activities for the benefit of others, like he was performing them for himself. Or you could say like for his own children. So that's what's being advised, this example that we're learning from Prithu Maharaj's example, that we have to be serious about ourselves, helping ourselves, but we also have to be serious about helping others. And specifically, there's a quote in the Nectar of Devotion, and I really wish I could remember it verbatim, but I don't think I'm remembering it now. But it says that a devotee treats everyone just like a kind father treats their children. A father, a real good father, a normal father, normal, good, healthy father, they are so in tune with the children and the children's needs and wants, right? What do they want? What do they need? How are they being taken care after? There's nothing careless about it. So similarly, that shloka in the nectar, that passage in the Nectar Devotion says that devotees should be like that, like a father caring for their children. It's not necessarily that. And I was wondering about that actually, because it's not necessarily that in life that we're always in a fatherly role. Sometimes we're in a son role with somebody or a friend or something like that. But anyways, you could say the principle behind it is that great care and attention is there. So that's what Prithu Maharaj was like, this very, very wonderful example. Okay, so does anybody have any questions or comments? Additions? Tomorrow it's going to be mentioned about Ramchandra. It's on the purport. So.
I'm going to ask Ramapati to help me figure this out. And that is that the second verse you read, Kandarpa Iva Soundarya, Monasvi Mrigavadiva, Vatsalye Monaban, Marina, long R. It says Vatsalye Monavandranam, but that sounds like the second or fourth line. This is the third line. Rinam, long R instead of short R. I mean, there's a mistake here in the book. It says Nirnam. Manovan Nirnam. He's like Swayambhuva Manu of human society. In his affection, he was just like Swayambhuva Manu, and in his ability to control was like affection for human beings, the people of human society. But it's a plural, Nrinam instead of Nrinam. Like Pitri.
Oh, Pitrinam and Nrinam.
Yeah.
It's hard. Usually it's hard.
I know, but here it's got to be long because the meter is messed up.
You're saying the A is long?
The R in Rina. The A is already long.
Okay.
But the R, you see, not like
has the dot under it.
Well, there's a dot under it already, but it needs a line over. You've seen those, right?
Are you saying the R needs a line over it?
Yes, and a dot under. It's rare that happens. What is it? We have. I forget the verse in the Bhagavad Gita that has that. Pitrinam. Anyway, yeah. But I'll show it to you. I have it in the actual Sanskrit, and I'll see. You can
Planet of the Trees.
And otherwise, the class was completely perfect. I have no questions, no comments.
Okay. Well, what about this thoughtfulness? He was like a lion.
Oh, the lion. Yeah, I looked into that. And the other places they have one says spirited like a lion. So there may be some other meanings of manasvi that will fit more like. Because the thoughtful, you don't usually think of a lion as completely thoughtful. So let me look into it. I'll look at the original transcript, see if there's some difficulty. There might be a fix that you found. And if it is, we need to fix it. I'll blame you.
Maybe some philosophical speculation there, right? How can a lion be? I mean, I know it seems like a lion doesn't wait around. I was thinking of that because
you don't see lions meditating, being thoughtful.
Well, I was thinking like wait around. It's like when a lion needs to get something done, like namely food for himself or his child or whatever. Then he doesn't wait around. So I could see Prithu Maharaj not being lethargic, waiting around for something to be done. There's probably no procrastination. I mean, I can't say there's probably. I would say there's no procrastination in Prithu Maharaj. That's for sure. Yeah. But in terms of
thoughtfulness is just the opposite.
Is another
where
thing.
Well, I don't know. Should I eat that deer or not?
Yeah. So, all right.
We'll try that.
We'll investigate it. Okay. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.